some roster moves heating up. They're cutting guys. They're placing guys on injured reserve and putting everybody on notice. So we're going to talk about some of those guys that could be on notice, right? Who's on the bubble, who's not on the bubble. We're going to break that down, give you my take on who I believe, out of the UDFAs make this roster. I believe this roster looks a lot different when we go into the preseason, when we go into the season. Just my opinion. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about all of it. Shout out Raider Ryan in the building. Hi, today is first. What's good? What's good? Appreciate you pulling up. But yeah, man. So the Raiders plays Shorter, Jeremy Shorter, right? On injured reserve. I'm not sure what the injury was, but or if it was an injury, because last year they placed Dalton Wagner on the same thing on injured reserve, or not last year, but a couple years ago when he was a UDFA. So not sure what the injury is. We know that they released, Snowden. So we're going to pull up the roster. We're going to go over that. We're going to check out the UDFAs as well, right? I know it's only was 3 days of camp. We don't see the Las Vegas Raider players back on the field until the 18th, which means Fernando has plenty of time to go to the White House with the Indiana crew if he so chooses to do so, right? Candy, what's good? I see you. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to break down all the good stuff. But it seems like there are a lot of players that are being, maybe overlooked coming on this UDFA class. We'll talk about also the draft picks. Is there a Tommy Malott in this draft class, right? Tommy Malott is a guy that didn't last very long for the Las Vegas Raiders. They brought him in. He was a quarterback. They tried to make him a receiver and a punt returner, and he was one of the first casualties to go out of last year's draft class. And then Cam Miller also got snatched up by Miami off the practice squad. So we lost two last year. Who was going to be that guy this year? See if we can break it down, talk about it. Is there anybody in this draft pick that doesn't make the squad or maybe gets pushed, to the practice squad, right? You have a 53-man roster. You have 48 dressed every day. And then you have, I believe it's 16 practice squad guys. A lot of these guys on our practice squad, right, are guys that have been here for a while. I mean, some of them some of them going on their fourth year, right, on the practice squad. It's a long time to be on a practice squad. I think it's time to either, show up and show out or get pushed out. So let me know your thoughts. What else in the news? Also in the news, we'll get to that first. Jalen Naylor is now rocking number 9, a casualty of the Tyree Wilson trade, where the Raiders got a 5th and a 7th round pick and moved Tyree Wilson over there to the New Orleans Saints. Shout out Tyree. Hope you do good over there, but I hope you don't do much better than you did here. I wish Tyree the best, man. I hope he has a great rest of his career. Hope they pick up his 5th-year contract and he shows what he's all about. Also in the news last week, or the last couple days, has been the Keyron Crawford deal, right? A lot of people are flipping out. The guy practiced one day. There was reports that it was just a heavy load, which kept him out. A lot of people saying, oh, that's weak, or, already upset about the fact that this man has, not wasn't practicing. But I believe that was a coach's decision, right? They had him on the side, right? He was, doing the hula hoop, getting his technique right. So I think this man is going to be a guy that's a force to be reckoned with. I've heard a lot of talk, rumors going around that maybe he's a guy that, sits for a year, doesn't get a lot of play time. But I feel with his motor, right, with his motor and his energy, his first step is pretty nasty, right? He's got a couple moves, and I feel he makes his way on the team, right? Malcolm Kuntz hasn't really shown anything. They got rid of Snowden, right? You got Jafari Harvey, and I can't even know off the top of my head who's there right now. You got Twitty Payne, right? Who else did they didn't bring? So yeah, not a lot of guys. Also in the news, best-selling jerseys. In case anybody is wondering, the best-selling jerseys right now, the rookie draft class is Caleb Downs out of Dallas, Jacob Rodriguez out of Miami, Malachi Lawrence out of Dallas, and the shocker of them all, it's Drew Alar in Pittsburgh is the fourth top selling jersey out of all the rookies. Raider Nation, what are we doing? Do you not have your Fernando jersey yet? I mean, Fernando is fifth on this list, fifth. So Fernando in the Las Vegas Raiders jersey is the fifth best selling out of all the rookies. Chris Johnson out of Miami is next. Jeremiah Love, Arizona. Caleb Lameau, New England. That's surprising. Dylan Thieneman out of Chicago and David Bailey wrap up the top 10. Let me know what you think about that. If you have any takes, I felt Mendoza. Shout out to the $2 holla, man. Appreciate it. Hi today. Thanks for all the love. Keeping the lights on, man. Thanks for the kind words. But yeah, forgot what I was gonna say now. No, I didn't. But how do you guys feel about it, right? Do you feel like Fernando Mendoza's jersey would be selling a lot more? I mean, you have, people in Cuba, I figured, might start, watching a little bit more football. I don't know what the ratings are over there, but you think they would go up, having Fernando Mendoza on an NFL roster, the Latino nation, and then, just all the crazy young people that, young girls and stuff that, flock to guys like that. I thought it would be a lot higher than fifth. So Greg Brewer in the building. What's good, my guy? I missed anybody in here? Who else is in here? My guy says, hey, I'm loving the channel. I watched some of your other videos and live stream. Your content has changed and gotten better over time. Hey, I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate that. That's what we strive here, right? 1% every day. Eventually, we want to be, your go-to channel for Raider Nation. So appreciate that, and we'll continue to do our best to get better. El Pistapo says, dude, Wild, did not know about that. Best-selling jerseys. Nice. Well, now you know. See, every day you learn something is a good day. That's, a wise man once said, every day of learning is a good day. Also in the news, what else did I have? I'm gonna bring this up because I think this is funny, and let me know if my stream is lagging, because on my side it is lagging big time. I don't know if I got to close some windows, what I got to do over here, but to me it seems like it's lagging. So let me know if it's lagging. If it's lagging, I could close some windows and fix it. But around the NFL on X, right? Shout out to the Nick Shook rankings of the top 15 NFL quarterbacks on rookie contracts. This is a very interesting article. Now, it says, of course, well, not of course, because some people might be surprised, but Drake May's cap hit is $10 million, right? Kid that, took his team to the Super Bowl last year. Number 2 on that list is Caleb Williams, first overall pick, right? Making $10.8 million. Even though he held the highest expectations for Ben Johnson, probably didn't foresee this partnership with Williams going as well as it did first year. Probably not. I did not. I thought it would take some time. Next on the list is a man who didn't play a lot last year, missed some of his rookie year, right? Hopefully he's, packing on the pounds over there and gets a little heavier. But Jaden Daniels, a guy that a lot of people hate, a certain quarterback that's in our room because he won us, way too many games, and we weren't in the running for a Jaden Daniels. At least that's my theory. But Jaden Daniels is $10.3 million. You have Bo Nix for the Broncos at 4 with $5.1 million. CJ Stroud. A lot of these are first and second or top 10 picks, right? CJ Stroud making $11.5 million is 5th on the list. Cam Ward making 11.1 mil. Whew, I didn't know he was making that much. First overall pick is sixth on the list. Bryce Young, 12.1 million, is seventh on the list for the Carolina Panthers. And then you have Jackson Dart, eight on the list, making $3.9 million. Pretty good. Right behind him is Tyler Shuck at number nine, making $2.5 million. Man, the Giants are stacked for the future, right? They're not paying a quarterback 10 million on their rookie year or 11 or 12 or 13 or whatever, some of these guys are making being the number one overall pick. The Giants snuck back up into the first round. They took Jackson Dart. They get a 5-year option on him, and they're paying him $3.9 million. That's an absolute steal. But next on the list is Tyler Shuck. He is making $2.5 million for the New Orleans Saints, another absolute steal. And if I had to say a player that was going to have a breakout year, and I felt he had a breakout rookie year, but a guy that's going to have a breakout year, to me, it's got to be Tyler Shuck. The Saints have put weapons around him. He's very accurate on the run, in the pocket. In the pocket, a guy that can move around. And I think Tyler Shuck and the New Orleans Saints have a bright future together. Next on the list, number 10, our quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, making $10.6 million. Or at least that's his cap number. It's time for projection season. Mendoza earned his first place at number one overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft with some true I lost my spot. With some true incredible performance in his last lone season at Indiana, winning the Heisman Trophy winner, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't need to go any more with that. We see that. Those attributes should help him plenty at the next level. Just don't expect to see him. Just don't expect him to show them off right away. The Las Vegas Raiders are probably going to have play Kirk Cousins, who they have signed as a bridge quarterback to help guide Mendoza. However, whenever Mendoza sees the field, he can bring our evolution. For now, the Raiders got themselves their hopeful answer to the position. Next on that list is number 11, Michael Penix, making $6.2 million. And then the 12th best rookie quarterback they have on this list is the cerebral assassin Aiden O'Connell, making $3.8 million. And below him is J.J. McCarthy. That's right, J.J. McCarthy, making $6 million. Below that, number 14 comes in the whopping Shador Sanders, making 1.1 mil. Another absolute steal if you can get this man on the field, get him to stop taking sacks. A lot of people hate on him, but man, he has good accuracy. He has good ball placement, right? He can throw the rock. He's just gotta tone it down a little bit and try not to play superhero. And if the Browns can get that out of him, he gets to sit probably behind Deshaun Watson for another year, making 1.1 milli. And then the 15th ranked quarterback on a rookie deal is Ty Simpson, making $4.7 million. And those are your top 15 rookie QBs, or at least somebody's ranking of the top 15 QBs. So, yeah, man, that's what we got. Also, the Raiders, since they placed Justin Shorter on the reserved injured list, they went and signed Jonathan Brady, a guy who I do believe played with Fernando Mendoza at Indiana. So lots of moves being made, right? The Raiders have some guys that are on their final year of their contract. One of those guys being Aiden O'Connell, another being Trey Tucker, right? Michael Mayer, I think, is on that list as well, I do believe. So there's some Raiders that, making $3, $4, $5 million when the Raiders are looking at about $9 million left in salary cap after everything is said and done. We talked about it the other day, right? Not a lot on the books. They're gonna have to make some moves. And I do believe, and then I don't know if y'all can hear this, but I'm gonna play this.
36 and 117 for 38 and 91. You don't feel good about it? With the risk?
Just his test.
He just
Hey, Tom.
we have the trade with Sydney 2-36 to Houston.
So this is the trade with Houston.
And receiving 2-38 and 3-91. Good deal. So Harkins couple of things. Take them. Take one.
So a lot of people were questioning, the Raiders moving back, taking Stokes where they did, trading Stokes where they did at 38. But a lot of people are, forgetting the fact that the Raiders didn't just pick Stokes in the second round. They also traded back and got another pick at 91, which led them to getting Trey Zoon the third, right? Who is also going to be a guy that I feel pushes a lot of offensive linemen on this roster. So it seemed like they were very, very happy in the building to get the trade that they did, moving back, 36 to 36 and 117 that they what was it? Should I get it right? So the Raiders moved picks 36 and 117 for 38 and 91. That's an A plus right there, right? You move up 26 spots, right? You get your guy, which you can't ask for any more than that. Arnie Garza in the building. What's good? I got booted by wasting talent looking for a new parking spot. You good, my brother? You good here? We'll take all opinions as long as it's not racist, as long as you ain't talking trash to the people in the chat. You good to go, my brother. Sullivan in the building. What's good, family? What's good? I need one of them buttons. Like, doo, doo, doo. I have one right here, but it don't seem to work. So I need to get a new one. Let me get some of these comments. Why the hell? What? It's just because they spotted a construction body to shot. What are you talking about, my G? I don't know. Arnie Garza in the building. Come with the questions. I know you're gonna have some. So, man, let's pull this up. Hopefully, it doesn't make the stream any slower because it still looks like it's lagging. You know what? Let's see what no, I don't know. Let's share this one. Oh, that's horrible. Can y'all see that? Y'all can't see that, can you? I know your eyes are better than mine, but I cannot see that. We gotta do something about this. Don't they have one where I could be smaller? I guess that's better. Oh, why is that like that? All right, man. So here we go. Offense. Let me know if y'all can see it or not in the chat. Let me pull that back up so I have the chat. Rosetown in the building. What's good? What's good? Kobe, what's good? Seek Jesus before it's too late, man. I already found him. He's on my wrist. It's on my wrist, my brother. I know where he's at. Can you tell us about Sorry from Arkansas? Yeah, I could tell you all about Sorry from Arkansas. He is pretty solid downhill tackler. He's a guy that can play the edge. He's a guy that can play middle linebacker. He's a guy that can play your left outside, your right outside, or your Mike, your Will or your Sam, or however you want to call it. He's a guy that can play that jack. He's a guy that could probably, you know, play that strong safety role if you want him to. Not the, I mean, I think he's right there with Jeremy Chin speed wise. He's 6'3". I mean, he's a little light. I want to say like 220 something, right? But he's going to get in the gym. He's going to put on pounds. Also, a lot of people don't know that he has a connection with two of the linebackers that we just drafted, right? He was, I do believe, a freshman behind N'Kobe Dean and Quay Walker, why they were at Georgia, and then he transferred and went to Arkansas. So he has, from what I could, unless my information is wrong, but from what I know, he has a connection with those guys. And maybe that's why they brought him in a UDFA, right? Maybe they asked some of the players, have you played with any of these guys? Do you know any of these guys? What are they like? And maybe they got a feel, for some of them guys there. And then I'm sure when they brought in Mike Washington, they probably asked him about, Xavier Sori as well. But Sori is a guy I think makes this roster. He's going to be one of those sneaky guys that, you can put him in a lot of different spots. He's a pretty solid tackler. He's, I like him on the edge when he's rushing the passer. He's got a nice first step. He's got a couple moves, right? He doesn't bite on a lot of misdirection. His solid eyes, his eyes are locked in where they need to be on the quarterback and on the running back. So a kid that just didn't have, I keep freezing. A kid that just didn't have, much around him when it comes to defense at Arkansas. You have my guy, Cameron Ball. You have my guy, Neal, right? But other than that, the talent was the talent was there. They just, I don't believe they were well coached, and they just didn't play well together. So, yeah, man, Julian Neal is another guy that he went pretty early, right? A lot earlier than a lot of people thought. So there was a lot of ballers at Arkansas, man. I watched every single game. Some closer in closer perspective than others, but yeah. So that's Xavier Sori. The connection I think he has in the building, right? His work ethic. I think he's gonna fit right in. He's gonna fit right in with these guys. He's not a guy that's gonna whine and complain. He puts in the work. He grinds. And you can tell he was one of our biggest playmakers, right? So another guy like Cameron Ball that didn't get much look. Who is your favorite UDFA on the roster? Well, let's get into that, man. Let's look at this right now. So I believe these cats in the dark. I don't know if you can see them. Yeah, you can see it. But these guys in the dark green or teal blue or whatever color that is, I believe are the UDFAs, right? Chase Roberts, yeah. Nicholas Henning. I want to talk about, why is it still lagging, bro? Is it really lagging that bad? Y'all didn't answer my question, or does not see it. Jason Rule's in the building. What's good, man? Let me know if it's lagging, because on my end, it is freezing big time. But we're going to roll with it. Actually, no, we're not. Let me close some of this stuff out. Pardon my language. Close out this one. See if that helps. These ads up, I know that. All right, so yeah. First off, I want to talk about some of the linemen, right? Nicholas Henning is a guy that was drafted second overall in the Canadian Football League draft, right? The CFL. A guy that hasn't played tackle. A guy he played, I guess 2024 last year. I do believe he played tackle, but in 2024 he was a tight end. The film I've seen on this man, he's quick. He's quick on the edge. Nice kick step. Good hands. Physical. I do believe he has 34-inch arms. I want to say. I believe he's a guy that somehow is going to sneak on to at least the practice squad, and maybe in a couple weeks onto the roster, right? I think he's a guy that's going to push and have some battle. And right now, my favorite is Roman Himby. To answer you know, Roman Himby is a guy that a lot of people forget about his time in Maryland with DJ Glaze. From the information I got, they were best friends. They hung out together. It wasn't just on the field. They were close. They stayed in touch, right? I think he was there 3 years in Maryland, you know, two of those with DJ Glaze. So more connections with the Las Vegas Raiders in the building, guys that have played together, guys that know each other, right? Himby also is going to know EJ Williams, going to know your quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. So the Raiders, they just keep impressing me with the guys they bring in, the direction they're going, right? Not a bunch of hype guys like the Raider Nation wants, not a bunch of guys that, the film guys think is better than, everybody else, right? Sometimes the film doesn't tell it all. Sometimes the character is a big part of why some of these guys, don't succeed in the NFL. Their work ethic, their, me attitude, right? A lot of those guys don't make it from that. So the Raiders, I think, are doing their due diligence. They're checking out all these guys. A guy like Corey Rucker is another guy that just gonna have to keep an eye on. There's not a lot of roster spots, right? We talked about him, but Arkansas State kid, seen him the last 2 years, or last year at least. And I talked about it, right? 6 foot 213 was just working the Razorbacks defense. So some of these guys can ball, man, and not all of them are, speed guys. Some of them are guys, solid route runners that know how to create separation, that know how to use their hands to catch the ball, which is huge, right? It's about one of the biggest things. If you don't know how to put your hands in a triangle and catch the damn football instead of trying to do, mismatch or Mickey Mouse stuff or whatever you're trying to do with your hands, it makes it a lot easier to catch. So, I haven't got through whatever film I could find on a lot of guys. I've heard some stuff, and I don't know why he's still not on there. But there's still a lot of talk being had about um, the quarterback we brought in. Right, was on Gruden show. Accuracy, big, strong arm, has a lot of upside, and I just don't know why he's still not on any of these rosters that I can find. But from what I heard, he was out there. You also have Jacob Clark. And then EJ Williams. EJ Williams is again that guy that was at Indiana with three different quarterbacks, produced with all of them, right? So it shows me he can get open. Wasn't the number one option in any of those, but a guy that's just still found his way around the ball. So I believe another guy that's going to push some of these guys. And right now, right, we're looking at Dante Thornton, Malik Benson sitting at second, right? I don't know. I think Dante Thornton right now. I think Dante Thornton, if we're talking about the bubble guys, right, and that's going to be the topic, right? Who's on the bubble? That's segment number one. And I know we rabbled on for a little bit, but who's on the bubble? And my first guy on that bubble is Dante Thornton, right? We know about his speed, but we have a lot of guys that have speed, that can catch, that can run better routes, that can create better separation, not just with their size and their length. So, I believe Dante Thornton is going to have to work a lot. And I said it before, the one thing he has going for him is he is a Spy Tech draft pick, right? And Spy Tech, does he keep him just for that reason? He said, he feels very confident in Dante Thornton and what he's been doing in the offseason. So we'll see. We'll see. But I believe that's a guy that's on the bubble. That's one of my bubble guys. And then you have Brendan Rice, right? For that left side, which, I don't know what you want to call it. but probably more likely, I'm thinking is, the Z guy and Brendan Rice. We all know the connection there, the bloodline with Jerry Rice, another guy that's going to have to show out. We talked about Corey Rucker. My guys that I feel make this roster, or at least make the practice squad, are there till at least the last day. I'm gonna say Nicholas Henning, the tackle. Yes, he plays left tackle, but that doesn't mean anything, right? We've had Dalton Wagner on the squad for a while. We haven't had many backups at the left tackle side, so I believe if anything, you make the practice squad. Just his size, his speed, the athleticism at the tackle position. If he can get him strong and physical, and again, a guy that was taken, second overall in the CFL. So, and some of those, so if you watch some of the football right now going on, what's the other league? Some of those guys are balling. You have the Cleveland quarterback, the former UCLA guy, out there, you know, hyping it up, talking a little smack, playing a little ball. I can't remember Dorian Robinson, right? So some of these guys from these other leagues, right, could have been slept on and passed over, and I think Nicholas Henning is one of those ones. So I'm gonna go with Henning. Roman Himby to me is a lock. I just, like I said, I don't know how you could not keep this guy as your third guy. You could put him on special teams. You could probably put him on kick returns if you wanted to on special teams. A lot of people are going with those, with the running back at that position to catch the ball and, have that wiggle, be able to see the field. So I wouldn't be surprised there as well. I don't know what is going on with the bottom of the screen, but it is driving me nuts. And then another guy is the Isaiah Jada, right? At a BYU. 315 pounds. BYU had a pretty good squad over there, right? They had a pretty solid run game. They had a pretty good passing game. And I wouldn't be surprised if him, Chase Roberts, and Tanner Wall all end up somehow pushing guys out and making this practice, or getting signed to future contracts and maybe put on injured reserve. But I like Isaiah Jada too. Another guy that just has huge upside. And with those two guys being mentioned, another guy that I believe is going to be on the bubble, it has to be Dalton Wagner. It has to be Dalton Wagner, right? You've been on this squad, man, for the last 3 years on a practice squad. I thought he looked very well in preseason last year, but then with the coaching that their guy was DJ Glaze, their guy was also Stone Forsythe on the other side, right? So we didn't get to see any of Dalton Wagner. But in the preseason, man, I thought he did pretty well. His footwork looked better. He has a good kick step. It's getting quicker. I know he has strong, violent hands from watching him in Arkansas in the run game, right? He's a mauler in the run game, but not playing football for 3 years is not going to help you. So I believe Dalton Wagner is one of those guys that are highly on the bubble. And you got Isaiah, Jada right behind him. I believe Dalton Wagner was the highest paid UDFA the Raiders have ever had at $250,000. They saw something in this young man, but obviously with the coaching staff, the coaching changes, right? My boy's kind of just been shuffled to the back over and over and over again. So we'll see with Dalton Wagner, but I believe Dalton Wagner is on the bubble. And then my third guy on that bubble is Will Putnam, right? Will Putnam, I talked about a lot. If you go back and look at, if you go back and look at his film at Clemson, right? He's a guy that didn't miss games. He played, the center position, but he also played other positions. But he was a guy that was consistent, didn't give up sacks, didn't give up pressures, was one of the highest rated, guys coming out. 3 years ago? He's been on the team now 3 years. So yeah, 3 years ago out of Clemson. And Will Putnam, a lot of people, I always bring this up. He has that fire in him, right? Remember back in practice a couple of years ago when we had Robert Spillane and Will Putnam was the center. He got into it with Robert Spillane, and then the whole defense, Max Crosby came over there. They were pushing, shoving, all that. But the kid didn't back down, right? He held his own, stood up to almost the whole defense because I didn't see anybody else on the offensive side trying to help him out. So, a kid that has that fire, that mentality where he wants to win, but he didn't have a very good year. But can we really blame him, right? The coaching hasn't been very good. Nobody has developed. Nobody has shown progress. Not even JPJ, the fan favorite, has not showed progress, right? And it's hard to when you're not in the lineup, but there hasn't been a lot of progress from any of these offensive linemen. And I think that's the coaching changes, the head coaching change, the having a different coordinator twice every season that he's been here. But I feel like he's on the bubble. You bring in a guy like Trey Zune. You also have Jordan Meredith, who also plays the center position now. I don't feel like he has anything to do with the center position this year. I believe that we have, what is going on, bro? This shit is tripping. I believe we have qualified adults in the building now that are not going to not going to push Jordan Meredith to be the backup center. So maybe you keep him around just to be, the practice squad center because you don't have a lot of centers, right? So maybe he makes the roster just from, the practice squad roster for that, because bringing in the UDFA is that play center that I know of. We didn't bring in any UDFA guards that I know of. Oh, right guard Dustin Pickett. So Justin Pickett is another young man. And I don't know if he just plays guard. I haven't watched any film. But, man, he's 6'7" and 317. So just a mammoth of a man, kind of like Dalton Wagner. Right? Big guys, big guys. But can they move? Because in a Clint Kubiak system, you're going to have to be athletic. If you're a guard, you're going to have to be able to pull. If you're a tackle, you're going to have to be able to pull, right? You're going to have to get out, get in front of the running backs, beat guys to their spots. And that's why I think Zune comes in. What is going on with this thing, bro? That's why I feel like Trey Zune comes in very, very handy with this roster. And it's especially the fact that you get him by trading back 2 spots and a 117 pick for 91. That's great value. Even if you don't like the player Stooks or Trey Zone, that's still great value. You can't beat that value. If they develop into something, Stooks, I believe, is going to play day one. Just because we don't have that true free safety, that boundary safety, right? That high center, that high single high safety that can play boundary to boundary in a single high. A guy that can turn his hips and run because of his speed, right? He can catch up. If he can recover. So I think trading Stooks plays right away, in my opinion. So right now we're looking at Jack Best, Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor, Colton Miller. Spencer Buford is penciled in as the left guard. I don't think that stands. I think Zune takes that spot. A guy like Antonio Mafi, I believe, is also on the bubble. He was a guy that was brought in on the Pete Carroll system, right? Not sure if it was a Spytech pick or a Pete Carroll type pick. But Antonio Mafi, good size, but we have a lot of guards. They drafted more guards. They drafted guards last year, but Mafi is 6'3", 330, huge body. Got some reps last year, right? Later towards the season. But I don't think, his play was enough to keep him around when you got a guy like so. Bazoon is penciled in behind Buford, Spencer Buford right now. And again, this is not the Raiders roster because they did not put their roster like that. Caleb Rogers and JPJ, they have battling for the right side spot, but then you have Justin Pickett. Don't know, again, how athletic he is, so I will have to do some homework on that. I don't know if he was at the combine, so I'm not sure what his RAS scores are. But if he's got any athleticism at 6'7", I mean, you might want to pencil him in somewhere as well, right? And then you have DJ Glaze with Dalton Wagner. We talked about that. Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. A lot of people are saying is a guy that could be on the bubble. I just don't see it. I really don't. I think he's way too valuable as a blocker, a guy that you can move around, right? A guy that you can put at the tight end position and then use Brock Bowers as your slot receiver, as that Z, as the X, wherever you want to put, you can pretty much put him. You can line him up in the backfield as a fullback and pass to him that way, which we've seen Kubiak do a lot with JSN in Seattle. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of these guys, catching the balls from different formations than they're used to or you're used to seeing them to. So that puts what we got? Dante Thornton, that's one. I think Cedric Jackson is, as much as I hate to say it, right? Unless he's been grinding, putting in that work on creating separation, running better routes. I know he has dang good hands. We know he's the great nephew of the great Bo Jackson. I think the Raiders would love to keep him in the building, but I don't know if he's a guy that if you put on the practice squad, he's going to remain on the practice squad for another year, right? People have had a little bit of tape on him. They'll also have whatever offseason tape is on them, if they put him out there. So I think Cedric Jackson could be a guy on the believe. EJ Williams is a guy that's going to push for that spot. I don't know if y'all can see this or not. Nobody ever answered me. I'll get to the comments in a minute. And then Tariq Young, a guy they brought in from Seattle. I know Clint Kubiak, knows this man. Is why they brought him in. But is there some chance? And I think the cap hit would probably be not worth releasing him. But is there some chance that, they keep 7 receivers just to keep him on and they put him on the punt, kickoff return or punt return? Because I don't know how much he's going to get on the field. And then you have Philip Dorsett, another guy that I believe is on the bubble. Good speed, right? Made some decent plays for us last season, but just couldn't constantly get on the grass. And I think that was attributed to Pete Carroll. But, man, behind him, you have Chase Roberts, right? Chase Roberts is 6'3", 210-pound wide receiver out of BYU, right? We talked about Jada, but 25 years old, kind of reminds me a little bit of the hell's his name? Alec Bachman, right? Kind of reminds me of a little bit, a lot bigger, 6'3", 210, more physical Alec Bachman, a guy that, hung around with the Raiders for a while. So Chase Roberts, the Raiders preach character. That's all they talk about is character, right? Good guys that love football. Well, he's done missions in Africa, right? Mentoring children in Africa, South Africa. So a great kid, great head on his shoulders, right? Has goals. knows what he wants to do in life. And if he's not playing football, then he'll probably be serving the Lord, and you can't ask for anything about that. But I believe this is one of those sleepers. I think he definitely has a chance to push. And then you have Jonathan Brady behind him. Again, the Indiana receiver has a 5'9", 183. I would imagine he has a little bit of speed. I will have to go back and watch more film. As many times as I watched every snap of Fernando Mendoza, and then went back and watched Eliza Surratt, and then went back and watched Becker. And even though he wasn't coming out, I still just, the kid is absolutely amazing. And then, Omar Cooper and EJ Williams. I haven't got to Jonathan Brady. So I'd be lying if I sat up here and said, this dude's going to make the roster, or I feel he's going to make the roster. Because, again, I don't know. Don't know much about him. But I will let you know, because we will be talking about these guys at least till camp starts again. I mean, because there's not much more to talk about unless guys keep dropping like flies, right? So those are my guys, man. Those are my guys that are on the bubble. Which this is the roster. These are guys. Like I said, if they're not in the dark green, they're guys that are signed. And out of those guys, like I said, Dante Thornton, Antonio Mafi, Will Putnam, and possibly even Jordan Meredith, which I don't know. If you're starting Kirk Cousins, I think Jordan Meredith is the starter just because of the experience to me. And then Dalton Wagner. The questions about Michael Mayer, I just don't think so. But Ian Thomas, right? Ian Thomas, 6'4", 253, just not as good of a blocker as he should be for his size, right? I mean, with another 50 pounds, right? You're basically a guard or a tackle. So needs to work on the blocking. I don't know how much they'll use him, as a receiver. Most of the time it'll be blocking. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ian Thomas is on the bubble as well. The Raiders brought in some tight ends. They looked at other guys, right? They brought in a tight end. They released him. But I believe Carter Runyon, man. Carter Runyon, I talk about a lot. His RAS scores were, tops for tight ends. So now they just keep getting more and more and more for tight ends. Their athletic scores are just off the charts nowadays. But Carter Runyon, I got Dante Thornton, and then Albert. Okay, why does this keep doing this, bro? This is tripping me out. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I don't know what is going on. There's just in the building. But Albert OK is another guy that, I don't know if they make this roster. Patrick Gerd, don't know much about. Haven't watched film. I'd be lying. So I don't know. I can't say whether he makes the roster or not. But then the major one is, Aiden O'Connell fit in all of this. And so far, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that I feel could not make this roster and on the bubble. That's a lot of spots. Only 2 of those were third string. The rest, are second string. So far, no first strings. But I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys show out. If Spencer Burford doesn't end up making the roster, even with the connection with Kubiak, just because of the money he's making and the money, we would have to pay these young guys. So, but the Aiden O'Connell thing, man, it's been talked about a lot, right? We just don't know. We don't know if Jacob Clark is a guy they feel like can run their practice squad and they don't need 3 quarterbacks. But from what I've heard, the little birdie in my ear, and, from what I'm hearing, they go with 3 quarterbacks this year. 3 quarterbacks make the roster. So if you're doing your roster cuts, make sure you allow for 3 quarterbacks. I'm just giving you a heads up. And then Dylan Labe is a big one. You have Mike Washington. You have, you know, Connor Hayward who's going to play fullback. So you have that, as a guy that could be that short yardage guy. So you don't really need a guy like Roman Himby. And I don't think, I think a lot of people think Roman Himby's like, this big monster running back, but he's quick, bro. He's crafty. He can catch out of the backfield. He can block very well, but he's only 6 foot and 210, right? So, a lot of people have him penciled in like he's going to be this fullback guy and our short yardage guy and our goal line guy. I don't know about that, right? I don't know about that. I feel like he's going to be a guy that, may get 6-7 carries a game on different situations. They're going to be tired running all over these defenses. I'm telling you, like these guys are going to need a break when you get, when you're picking up 6-7 yards of carry, bro. It gets tiring. It's hard, filthy work in those streets. So, they're going to need a breather. And I think Roman Himby's going to be that guy. But I just don't feel like he's, bulked up enough to be that short yardage bruiser that we need. And that's why we got Connor Hayward. So going over these is Dante Thornton. Fucking thing, bro. Why won't you stay still? You wiggling at. Dante Thornton Jr. Cedric Jackson, I feel could be on the bubble. Brendan Rice, I feel could be on the bubble. We're putting them. Antonio Mafi, that's 5. Ian Shorter, I feel, is on a bubble. That's 6. Aiden O'Connell, depending on Sawyer Robinson, right? Whatever Sawyer Robinson. And if a guy on a cheaper deal than 3-something million, that's great. But if you're looking at the situation, the way I look at it is last year we wasted a 5th-round pick on Kenny Pickett, who didn't play but one game, and that game was a 0-31 shellacking to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't feel the Raiders are going to, put themselves in that position. You hear a lot of talk about Fernando Mendoza will play before Aiden O'Connell. Look, if he's not ready, and Aiden O'Connell, according to SpyTech, has played a lot of good football, could be that guy, right? So I don't know what they do with Aiden O'Connell, man, but I do know one thing. Even if they decide to keep Sawyer Robinson as that 4th guy or that practice squad guy, I know he's not the guy they're planning on putting in if something happens to Kirk Cousins. And I know they don't want to rush Fernando Mendoza. If you go back and watch the interviews between our coach, Clint Kubiak, he said in a perfect world, you have a mature guy that could come in, help the young man, right? Play football until he's ready so you don't have to force him into the fire, right? It would also be nice to have 2 of those guys where if somebody gets hurt, you're not throwing this kid into the fire. You're not drafting somebody off the streets that doesn't know the playbook in the system and just, ruining the season. So I believe Aiden O'Connell makes his team. Dylan Labe, man, the juice box, one of my highest videos ever was Dylan Labe. I said for weeks I believed he was going to make the team. The little birdie in my ear just kept telling me, yo, I heard they really like Dylan Labe. He was fast. He could catch out of the backfield. He had one of the best hands in that draft. He was rated like the 3rd best receiver in that draft. The kid that at New Hampshire played a lot of receiver. He was so good at catching the ball that he went from being the number 1 running back to mostly his senior year playing that slot guy and playing that Z guy and running wheel routes. And if you watch his film at New Hampshire, bro, Dylan Labe can catch out of the backfield. So I know if they keep 4 running backs and a fullback, to me, that's a lot. Chris Collier, I believe, is not only on the bubble. I think he's going to have to do something absolutely spectacular in this offseason when camp starts and when the preseason starts to keep his job. And I feel like Dylan Labe is going to have to do that too, right? You want to keep those funny guys in the building. But for me, that's 8, 9, that's 9 guys on the bubble out of, what do we got? 4, 8, 12, 16, 19, 22, 25, 28, 32, 33, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 43. So out of 43 offensive players, I have 9 on the bubble. And again, you can only have 53 on the roster. Some of these guys will be practice squad. That's why you have third string and fourth string. And then some of them are listed as fifth string. But I wouldn't be surprised if that fifth string Roman Hemby, like I said, makes it. And then on the defensive side, man, the defensive side, it's a lot different. It's a lot different. We have depth. We have guys that's going to be hard to get rid of, right? For the first time in a long time, they're going to have to make decisions. You have Thomas Booker, a guy that came over from Philadelphia in the Jacorian Bennett trade, right? Didn't really do a whole lot for us, but didn't really hurt us, right? Didn't have too many plays where he was, not in his gap or he was, out of his gap and guys were running for 100-yard plays. He was okay, right? He was okay. Nothing spectacular. To me, I'd rather have guys like Tonka Hemingway, Traven Mae, another kid that, man, this kid, bro. I'm so glad they brought him in. But a kid out of Baylor, right? 6'3", 291, not really heavy, but he's quick, man. He's quick. He's got a good first step. He's got violent, big physical hands. And we've seen a little bit of them. We've seen a little bit of them last year. You're going to see a lot of them in the preseason, I feel. So a guy that to me, I would have on my 53, man. I would bring this young man up just because of the upside. He can do his job. He can get to the quarterback, get good in run gap integrity. So look for Trevin May. I think it's Maye. I always say it wrong. I'm not good at pronouncing these names. For the guy I have high hopes for. And then Tonka Hemingway, right? 4 sacks, 5 games last year. A guy they put on the edge, they were having him be that edge guy. At his size, I think he's more of kind of a 4 or a 3 tech at 6'3", 284. You got to pack on a little bit weight, but I don't know if he's, I don't want to say he's not quick enough to play edge because he had 4 sacks in 5 games. So what do I know, right? But if he puts on a little bit more weight, maybe a guy that could play with his hands in the dirt in that 3-4. Don't have a lot of heavy guys on this defensive side. Mays under 300 pounds, Tonka Hemingway under 300 pounds, JJ Pegues, I do believe is 320. They have Adam Butler penciled in here, and I believe Adam Butler is due to make $5-6 million this season. Missed some games last year because of a back. How healthy is he? Right? He is. How old is Adam Butler? Where is his age? He is 32 years old, 9 years experience in the NFL. I like Adam Butler. I know they like him in the building, right? But if you're telling me that I could have JJ Pegues out there, Jesus, thanks. Or another guy that was on another podcaster's show today, and Broderick Martin, who, I said was going to get playtime last season when he came on the squad. I was like, oh, not wrong guy. Anyways, Broderick Martin, 26 years old, 6'5", 330. A guy that, we haven't seen much of. Does he make a showing? Because if anybody could play the nose tackle, it would be 6'5", 330, right? I'm going to have to go. I don't think that's him. I'm going to have to go watch more film on Broderick Martin. And then Lackey Tassie, man. Lackey Tassie might be the international player that takes up that spot. For maybe the Raiders decide to go with 2 kickers. There's another kicker in Reed, that we talked about yesterday, who's very consistent, a solid kicker. Maybe he battles for that spot, and you keep two kickers, and you have the Tokyo Toe as that international player, and just make Lecky Tassie a roster spot. But to me, to do that, you would have to get rid of an Adam Butler, and for that, I'm gonna put Adam Butler on the bubble, man. I'm gonna put Adam Butler on the bubble. I feel like this team is going with Raiders. I feel like it's going with drafted Raiders. And I believe Spytek is building his team in his image along with Tom Brady. But I think Spytek is sitting on the throne right now. I think he's the king in the building. I really feel like he has a vision along with the people in the building of where they want this team to be, the kind of players they want on this team. And I'm just not sure if Adam Butler is one of those players anymore, right? Save us a little money. And I hope this really isn't lagging that bad. And y'all didn't tell me. All right, let's get in some of these questions real quick, if there are any. Yeah, it's lagging a little. Oh, so it is lagging big time. Damn it. I closed everything but one. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what is going on. But I apologize. This is horrible. I will get over this real quick. We'll just get through this and get off here. I should have read these. It's going along as you don't get ads. That's the problem. It's these damn ads, bro. That is the problem. When you have those ads pop up. Faded Raider, what's good? Frank Weber in the building. Yeah, may the fourth be with all of y'all. May the fourth be with you. And may the fourth be with, every one of these guys that I'm talking about on the bubble. I was going to start off with that. But you know what it is. Appreciate you, my guy, for reminding me. Did the Raiders dump Kappa? Yeah, Kappa's gone, bro. Kappa's gone. Nutty Nate was gone. What's good? What's good? What's good? Pete. We can see you. Shout out for the $2 holler, man. I appreciate you. May the fourth be with you as well. Sacktown Mike in the building. Raiders. Arnie Garza. Only 6 wide receivers will make the roster. Only 3 O-line will make the roster. I don't know about that, Arnie Garza. I really don't know. And that's why we're doing this, guys on the bubble. But join me tomorrow when I will have what I think they keep at each position, or I might do that if this damn thing stops lagging before we get off here. The Vinny T's was good. Raiders. Shout out for the $2 holler, man. I appreciate you keeping the lights on. And I appreciate y'all hanging in here, even though this is lagging. I would close it out on Facebook and and X. Maybe that's the problem. But I can't since the live stream started. Bueno, what's good, man? What's good? What's good? All right, so yeah, guys on the bubble. They have Cleveland right now as the second guy behind Jonah Laulu. And then Gary Smith, don't know much about. Again, I believe he's out of UCLA. I don't see him making the squad if Cleveland makes it. Quiddy Payne, Jafari Harvey, and Keon Crawford. Jafari Harvey is, it's a sneaky one. I think this dude has great size to play the edge. I think he's violent, physical, and there's a reason why they kept him around last year. So that's a guy that's going to be a question, right? Does he make that leap this year? Does he show that he can possibly be one of those guys if somebody gets injured that you can pull up from the practice squad, or does push one of these guys in front of him off the squad, which I don't see him pushing Karan Crawford or Twitty Payne just because they paid Twitty Payne all that money, right? I don't see him being a guy they cut or try to trade because who's going to trade for a guy you're paying all that money, right? If some of these young guys beat him out, would make sense. Quay Walker, another guy that they paid. is Shogun Sigun Alobi, right? I thought they brought him in as a special teams. I don't know if he makes the roster. When you have guys like Xavier Sori, who I think is going to push for this spot, right? Chris Thomas might push for that spot. Cody Lindenberg has been grinding all year long. Tommy Eichenberg, another guy that has shown steps, shown flashes, right? How many linebackers do they keep? Well, it depends on how you look at the position, right? Because if you're going to a 3-4, you're probably going to have a lot more linebackers than expected. I would expect they keep two Mike linebackers, which would be Kobe Dean and Lindenberg, and then Tommy Eichenberg and Quay on the other end. But then you're more than likely going to keep Karan Crawford and Twitty Payne. And then you have Malcolm Kuntz and Crosby, right? That's already 8 guys, whether you want to count linebacker or edge. So depending on how that goes, how they look at the position, that's a big question. A big question. I wouldn't be surprised at a lot of these guys. And then the guy that I was talking about was Brendan Jackson, the outside linebacker from the Rams, right? A guy that I felt last year, when they brought this man in, I was like, dude, this is a guy that he's going to get to the quarterback, right? He's going to contain his gap side. He's not going to get beat to the outside. But then he got hurt and didn't get on the grass. So go check him out. He was on another podcast today. I forgot which one it was, or I tell you, I remember I seen somebody had him on. So go over there, check it out. I didn't watch, so I don't know. It was a good interview. But man, I liked Brendan Jackson. And another hard decision for the Raiders, right? Is it a guy that's on the bubble? Because you're looking at the guys in front of him, right? You have Malcolm Kuntz and Max Crosby. I mean, do you really keep 3 edge rushers or right outside linebackers? I guess now they're calling them. I guess we don't have an edge on this roster. Bro, can I? Hold on. Oh, it only shows one. It's only streaming on one. Why is it having trouble? I'm not even streaming on X or Facebook. Man, all right, so back to it. Back to it. What message getting? I returned. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, so yeah, back to it. That's a lot of questions, right? If we're looking at running a 3-4 and only having 3 guys with their hands in the dirt 30% of the time, and then if you have 4 guys with their hands in the dirt, more than likely it's only going to be 2 tackles, and the other 2 are going to be edge guys. In my opinion, and we're looking at nose tackle, we have 4. I don't know why you would keep more than 2. You know what I mean? And to keep 2, if you're trying to build the squad of Raiders, can you afford to let a guy like Lackey Tassie, I guess Lackey Tassie won't matter if he's on the international program, but Broderick Martin, do you not give this guy a chance? Do you not give Trevin, May a chance? I don't know. Brendan Cleveland, they have him at DT, but I think, you can put him at nose tackle with his size. Why are these lives always so damn Impossible, bro. Impossible to just be easy. But yeah, man, 6'3", 315. I think that's one of the biggest guys we got. I mean, why would you put him at a two tech or two I? Doesn't make sense. Keep him at the nose. So that's going to be very questionable as far as I'm concerned. I don't know who they keep, but there's going to be a lot of guys that move around on at defensive tackle. Thomas Booker, I mean, God, what's his cap hit? I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna look at all these guys' cap hits before I make, decisions on whether they cut these guys or not. But if you're looking at the guys behind them, though, if you're looking at the talent behind them, and then the linebackers, how long has it been since we've had, you know, 6 linebackers that could all produce? That's just with Crawford, Tommy Eichenberg, and Cody Lindenberg. That's not counting Xavier Sori, RC Gun, Alubi. I mean, the Raiders have a lot of choices to make, but the safety position, you have Eric Stokes, Gerard McCoy. Is he going to get to play? The Raiders had him. Other news: the Raiders had him running punt returns. So he was out there practicing. He was wearing the white 28, not the black 28. They had two 28s out there in case anybody was confused. And I forgot who the other one was. Anyways, but Brendan Jackson, and then you have Kane Sloan, who I haven't watched, but I've talked to a couple people and they said, yeah, man, that's a guy that can definitely push some people on this roster. But again, are you going experience? Are you going money? What are you going? UDFAs? He's a UDFA. How many UDFAs make it? If we're looking at the past, I think last year they kept 2 UDFAs. The year before that, I don't believe they kept any. And then in 2023, I want to say they kept 3 or 4. This is just off the top of my head. I'm not, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they haven't kept more than 5. But this year, I feel like they keep more than 5. And this is why. They didn't have a deep roster when we started, right? There was only 67 guys, which is, I guess, almost your 50-man and your practice squad. Before, we had to bring in 10 draft picks and 17 UDFAs to fill out the 90-man. That's a lot more UDFAs than I think we brought in the last couple of years. And with doing that, you're going to find guys that fit a system better than the guys that were here before them, and probably making more money, right? So Jamad McCoy, if he plays, man, he's a starter, and you're pushing some guys out, definitely. Chikazi Anisum, a guy that I like a lot. Caleb Oford, I talked about, is another guy, who when I was watching film on Indiana, he's a damn good cover guy. So smaller guy, physical though, can cover. And then Jeremy Chin. If you're looking at this backfield, right? Jeremy Chin played well last year, but he didn't play well in coverage, right? He's hard hitting. He can cause turnovers. He's good at the run, right? He's good at that strong position. But he was a former linebacker, switched to safety. Now pretty much last year playing more of a linebacker role, right? Kind of that jack role. So I don't know. Jeremy Chin, I'm sure he makes it this year. But looking at the guys behind him, I hear a lot about Devin Lafayette, right? I've heard good things about him. And then you went and got, Dalton Johnson in the 5th round, so that's another guy. So we went from having 1 strong safety to having 4, because Isaiah Palamau is pretty much a strong safety in my opinion, and I'm sure most of the nation's opinion, right? He's a better tackler, a better run stopper, better at blitzing, in my opinion. He's got good instincts around the ball, just not great instincts or speed when the ball's in the air. And I think that's a problem. So you're looking at Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Palomau, Dalton Johnson, and Devin Lafayette. But then if you move Isaiah Palomau right to that strong safety spot, then you're only looking at Tristan McCollum and Tanner Wall at the free safety spot, with a guy like Traden Stukes that is going to be switching from probably the nickel. They have him listed here at the nickel behind Teron Johnson. I just don't see that being the case. Now I know if Teron Johnson is healthy, he's a damn good cover guy. But if healthy, right? If it's a big word. So on the bubble, man, on the bubble right now, I think a lot of these guys on the first and second roster are safe, but I'm gonna go with Malcolm Kuntz, right? I'm gonna go with Malcolm Kuntz on the bubble. I know they re-signed him to $11 million, but if he doesn't show flashes in this offseason and in the preseason of being able to at least show that he's starting to get back to that guy that he was in the past, I just don't see Malcolm Kuntz making it, the start of the season. And because you got guys like Brandon Jackson behind him, 6'3", 243, coming off the knee injury, that absolutely just killed him here. But he did show a little bit of flashes. This thing is, dude, what is going on? Can't do it like this. He did show a little bit of flash towards the end of the season. Not like Malcolm Kuntz was back, but he was getting up there, right? But when you got a guy like Brendan Jackson from the Rams, who's a damn good run defender and a guy that can get to the quarterback, and then you got a guy like Kane Salone pushing behind him, Malcolm Kuntz is going to have to show some people something in this building, I believe, to keep around, right? $11 million. I don't know what the cap hit is, but that's what they're paying him. So I believe it's somewhere around there. But if the Raiders have guys that are on a 3-year, 4-year less deal, right? Just starting out instead of a guy that's going his 4th year, I do believe, right? 5th year, I do believe 5th year, right? I believe they go with one of these younger guys. It's a different regime, and it seems to me like they're starting to weed out a lot of guys that were drafted in the Josh McDaniels regime. It's kind of the way I see it going. And some of those guys was Aiden O'Connell, Trey Tucker, Michael Mayer, right? I would not be surprised whatsoever if maybe all 3 of those guys are not on the roster to start the season, right? Just depending on how it goes, because it's been different, man. It's been a lot different. It's been a lot different than past years. I didn't expect a guy like Charles Snowden, and a lot of people were shocked that they released a guy like Charles Snowden who has shown upside. But the little birdie in my ear, and what I've heard, and I don't take this to the bank because I don't know if this is correct information, but from what I'm hearing is the Snowden thing was something with him not showing up to the non-mandatory camp when everybody else showed up, which I don't know. I think that's bullshit, but I thought, bull crap. But I thought, I'd bring that up from what I was hearing. So maybe there was some things where I don't know, but it just made no sense to a lot of people in Raider Nation, right? That they would just move on from Charles Snowden. But then again, when you're looking at this roster and you're looking at guys like Kwity Payne and Kieran Crawford and Jafari Harvey, who from what I'm told, they like this guy. They think he has potential. Maybe that was it, right? Maybe that was it. And then, Brendan Jackson, Sloan Kane, maybe they just didn't feel like there was a spot for him at the outside linebacker position instead of the edge, if you know what I mean. So, but a guy that has a motor, right? He was sideline to sideline. He was a guy that constantly chased down Guys never gave up on a play. So something had to have happened to me with Snowden, and I don't want to speculate, but yeah, I don't think they just released him. So nobody's safe, man. Nobody is safe. And then the right corner position is right now is Darian Porter. The guy that I believe is on the bubble is DeCamarion Richardson, right? Another guy that was, I do believe, I guess the AP regime. I wanted to say Josh McDaniels, but I think it was AP. I'm pretty sure it was AP. Just never, drafted in the third round. I mean, you're going on your third year in the NFL, drafted in the third round, and you've shown nothing. Now, is it his fault? No, because he kinda, kinda, because when he was on the grass, he hasn't showed nothing. He was on special teams last year, never really showed any flashes of special teams. Right? He's long, he's got good size, and you would think on special teams you would go out there and give it your all and show that you want to be on this roster, but he has failed to do so. However, in my opinion, and last year I think it was because of the coaching with Pete Carroll. A lot of these guys were playing that probably shouldn't have played as long as they did because they were not producing why they were out there, like Kai Blue Kelly, my guy. And I think Hezekiah Massis really, really pushes DeCamarion Richardson for that second spot. And man, I would not be surprised if he is pushing Darian Porter also for that spot. Yes, this year, because he's a guy that has played the position for a while. He's got good instincts, right? He's got good hip movement. If he opens up and gets beat, right, he can flip around and recover. Long, pretty long arms. And a guy that's just a ball hawk. When the ball's in the air, it seems to find Zeke Massis or Hezekiah Massis. But if you watch film on him, I guess everybody calls him Zeke. So Hezekiah Massis is a guy that I would not be surprised if DeCamarion Richardson gets pushed out and Darian Porter, ends up being that second guy. I would also not be surprised if they end up, trying to put Hezekiah Massis maybe at that nickel spot, which I don't know if he's fast enough at the nickel spot. But if something happens to Teron Johnson and, Stukes ends up playing more of the free safety spot, which I think he's going to, that pushes Greedy Vance up. And Greedy Vance is a guy that, I feel makes this squad one way or another, whether it's practice squad or whatever. But I feel like he finds his way. And then Devin Perkins is a guy a couple people have talked about at Utah Tech, 5'10", 195. Don't know much about him. Again, haven't watched any tape, so I don't want to say what they told me because, right, if it's wrong, I don't want to make him. So, but yeah. So we have, and if this thing would stay still again, I apologize. This is driving me nuts. I'm sure it's driving y'all nuts. I don't know how there's 18 people in here. Y'all are absolutely real ones, man, and I appreciate you for hanging in there. Then we got. This thing will not stay still, bro. I don't know what's going on. Oh my goodness. We have Kinsey Matsuwana, the Tokyo Toe, and Matt Gay. And then we also have Dean, what the hell, Dean Reed? What is his name? The other kicker from Delaware. And I don't know why he's not on here. So, yeah, that's the roster, man. I feel like there's not too many bubble guys on defense, right? If you were looking at your defense, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I would say 24. I'm looking at practice squad guys as, Trevin May, Jafari Harvey, Xavier Sori, Tanner Wall, I don't feel like they can put Hezekiah Massis on the practice squad. Somebody's going to jack him up. Again, I don't know how many people you can protect on the practice squad. If anybody knows, let me know in the chat. But I believe you can keep so many guys that are protected, but it's not a lot. It's Revenge of the Fifth for me now. Well, 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 what do you want me to do? No complaints, brother. Appreciate you. Fixed it for you, and you're not streaming in the other two anymore. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. You are only on. I'm only on Facebook now. I'm not on YouTube. What do you mean, bro? What? All right, I'm gonna close this damn window. I'm closing this window. All right, man. So yeah, that's the roster. Y'all seen everybody. A couple more guys I want to talk about. I'm gonna see if I do it like this without it being so ridiculous. But DeCamarion Richardson, I believe, is on the bubble. Tristan McCollum, I believe, is on the bubble. Malcolm Kuntz on defense, I believe, is on the bubble. Depending on what, I guess we don't really have a. So far they have a Mike and a Will listed. No Sam, but there will be, that Sam or the Jack or whatever, right? More than likely, we're going to be in a lot of 4-2-5 is my prediction, with a little bit more press and man. So some of these guys will make the roster but not be played all the time. But if we're looking at Brendan Cleveland, the 7th overall pick, I think he has an uphill battle. I think he could be the Tommy, the Tommy Malott of this year's draft, unless he shows something. Now he did against Rutledge, right? He went up against the hell's his name, Tate Rutledge, in college, and I seen some videos of Brendan Cleveland manhandling Rutledge, who was drafted very, very highly, right? So, I didn't see it all the time, but I seen some flashes. A guy that, could make some plays. And who does that push out? But if you're looking where he's listed, the only guy in front of him at the true DT right now on this list is Jonah Laulu. So a guy that I feel makes it in my 16 practice squad guys would be Greedy Vance, Tanner Wall, Kane Salone, Xavier Sori, Jafari Harvey, Trevin Maye. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then on offense, I believe practice squad guys for now, and this is going to change. Cedric Jackson, Brendan Rice, man, and I don't know. Actually, I don't know. So there's a lot of guys on the bubble, and I think the offense could be looking a lot different than it does right now, to be honest. But I'm gonna give you my starting 5 offensive linemen. I have Tyler Linderbaum at center, obviously. And then I have Jordan Meredith at the right tackle spot. I mean, at the right guard spot, I have Caleb Rogers. At the left guard spot, and I have Colton Miller and Charles Grant. But I think Charles Grant could possibly change. You also have Kamar Missouri. What's he look like? 6'5", 310 out of OTSA. So again, I have no idea who this man is, but we need competition at the right tackle spot. And again, you can look at a lot of rosters, and Charles Grant is listed as the backup left tackle on pretty much every single one of them. So I just don't see him moving to the right side. But there's competition, man. There's competition there. I believe there's going to be a push from Dalton Wagner, Isaiah Jada, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nicholas Henning starts playing a lot more right tackle, right? Because, oh shit, what I just do? Because I think he's athletic enough. I definitely feel like he's athletic enough, to play both positions and learn that spot. All right, so what we talk about? Let me know who is your surprise player who could get cut, right? Who is your surprise guys who could get cut? That is the next topic, an hour and 30 minutes into the show. But the first topic of guys on the bubble, takes a while. There's 90 guys on the roster. I think 90 plus right now. And they're going to have to start weeding some guys out. So look for a lot more cuts to happen. I'm not sure exactly how many are on the team right now, but I know it's over 90. And you can't go into May 18th in OTAs with more than 90. So you're going to have to drop some. So let me know, who would be your surprise cut? And to me, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of these big name guys, right? I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if it's a guy like, I don't think it's going to be Thornton. I think he's going to make it, at least till preseason, and maybe one of those bubble guys, or maybe they put him on a practice squad and be like, bro, you just need to learn. And, hopefully nobody takes him because of his speed and size, right? But to me, my surprise cut would be Spencer Burford, because I feel like we have a lot of guards. And I feel like they're going to have to keep on the roster another tackle, right? Not just a swing tackle, and not just Trey Zune as a guy that could play both tackles, because we haven't seen him play both tackles in the NFL yet, or, even in a preseason game. So I believe they need one more tackle, whether it's Dalton Wagner or if it's, Nicholas Henning or Isaiah Jada. One of these guys, I feel they're going to have to keep on the roster, because Charles Grant is, unless he gets a lot of reps on the right side, and he's a guy that can, play both positions, which I'm hoping they do, this offseason. But I would really love to see him just stay on the left if that's possible. But I just don't feel like with the roster it is possible. So again, Spencer Burford, I know he's making $3.5 million. I don't know what the cap hit is, so it'd probably be ridiculous for them to get rid of a guy like that. But you just can't keep all this offensive lineman. I'm looking at probably 8. Arnie Garza, I think, said in the chat. Shout out to Arnie Garza earlier. And if you were to keep 8, to me, that would be Colton Miller, Charles Grant. If you keep Spencer Burford, which more than likely they do, right? Because they're not going to take the cap hit. They just paid him, $3.5 million a season. Then you got Trey Zune, right? So that's 4. Linderbaum and Meredith, that's 6. JPJ and Caleb Rogers, that's 8. Already, right? That's 8 already. And then you have DJ Glaze. And if you keep Dalton Wagner, that would be 9. So one of these guys, whether it's Charles Grant, whether it's Trey Zune, which I don't see you putting Charles Grant on the practice squad, and after they have film on him and people have seen what he can do, I don't see him being back on the track on the practice squad. He's more than likely making the 53. You're not putting Trey Zune on the practice squad being drafted in the third round at pick 91. And Jordan Meredith won't last on the practice squad, and either will Caleb Rogers. Dalton Wagner is your best chance of being on the practice squad. But unless you get somebody that can play that backup, right tackle spot if something happens, then, I don't know. So a lot of these offensive linemen are going to be gone. Right now, we're looking at 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19 offensive linemen. 19. Maybe they keep 3 on the practice squad, 4, possibly 4 on the practice squad. I don't know why you would need 4 if you're keeping 9 offensive linemen, right? Those guys are going to play. You have enough to play first and second team, in my opinion. I guess not with 9. So you would need at least 1 or 2. So that's my surprise is Dante Thornton. I think will be the biggest surprise if he gets cut. And then on defense would be Adam Butler would be my biggest surprise. If he doesn't make it, I just think they're going with you, 32 years old. How many veterans do we really need, on the defensive line? These young guys, I believe, can do the job just fine. And, guys like Laulu going in his third year, right? You guys like Pegues and then going in a second. Thomas Booker's been around for a minute. So you don't really need too many veterans on the D line, which leaves a lot of good players. I would love to see what Broderick Martin has at a Pitt. Definitely a big guy that they brought him in, right? I believe in this offseason. So things are going to change drastically, and the bubble is getting bigger and bigger as we speak. But yeah, my guys, Tonka Hemingway, Adam Butler, Malcolm Kuntz, and Tristan McCullen and Decamarion Richardson. Those will be my surprise five surprise cuts. And then Matt Gay, I would be surprised if they didn't keep him with a young kicker, at least for a couple of games and let the, young kicker get used to the NFL. I don't think preseason is enough, right? So I wouldn't be surprised at that as well. All right. Underdogs fighting to earn a spot. We talked about that. Next topic, who are your underdogs fighting to earn a spot? And mine are Hakeem Massis, right off the rip, right? Brendan Sorey, Xavier Sorey, I believe is a guy that's going to make a push to stay on this team. Nicholas Henning, a guy just because of his athleticism, being a guy that's gone from tight end to tackle, good hands, big hands, long arms. I really think he has a chance. So mine is Henning, Xavier Sorey, Roman Himby, and my sleeper is Tanner Wall, man. I really feel like Tanner Wall climbs his way onto at least the practice squad. And then, it is the NFL. If things happen, maybe he finds himself on the roster. So those are my guys. Let me know who your guys are. And then the last topic is the dark side of roster moves that fans are not quite ready for. And I think I kind of summed that up a little bit. But my major one, we've talked about it I talked about it last year just because of the health issues. But my number one guy that I can see not fitting in and maybe being that guy on the bubble right now is Jackson Powers Johnson, right? Because if you're looking at the roster right now, No, we don't have a lot of guards. I mean, yes, we have a lot of guards. Well, you got Caleb Rogers that can play that spot. You have Jordan Meredith that can play that spot. You have Trey Zune that can play that spot. And he brings you the highest, trade value if you were going to trade. And he's not a spy tech guy, right? He was the Antonio Pierce guy, that feisty, rah rah. He's got a lot of penalties. Trey Zune, 0 penalties last year. A guy that doesn't make mistakes. So if I had to guess, the surprise guy that most fans would not be ready for, it would be Jackson Powers Johnson. And my second, I don't really have one. It would be Thornton. Um, but the biggest surprise, the shock to me, would be Trey Tucker, man. Trey Tucker. I'd be surprised if he is not on this roster when the season starts. We heard the coaches talk about him. They have high upside, but there is a possibility that guys like EJ Williams can do what Trey Tucker does and possibly do it better at a younger age. Malik Benson, a bigger body, 6'3", runs the same speed, right? Catches the ball with his hands, not with his body. That's a problem. I would not be surprised if you're looking at a Trey Tucker who makes $3.8 million if somehow he finds his way not on this roster to start the season. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's the number one wide receiver going into the season. I wouldn't be surprised either way. But the cap hit, I think, is more than would save. It's like $3.8 million. So I don't see, that being the case. But I do see it being the case if you're looking at the receivers that you think might get playtime, like Cedric Jackson, like Jalen Naylor, like EJ Williams, if he makes it on this roster, um, Brendan Rice, right? Some of these guys might make the roster. Corey Rucker might make the roster and push for playing time. And if that happens, do you really want to, if you really love Trey Tucker, do you really want him on this team not being that number one guy on a contract year, right? He's shown enough, I think, in the NFL that people know who he is. He's got, more yards every season. But last year, 96 targets, 52 receptions. I think he needs to have a damn good year for him to, go somewhere and make the money that I think he's due. I don't think he'll be a number one anywhere on anybody else's roster. And as much as I love Trey, I just don't think he's a number one on our roster. So if it's me, I'm sorry. I'm looking at a guy like Malik Benson in that spot, or a guy like Cedric Jackson or EJ Williams in that spot. So that's my surprise, guys that would not be on this roster. And shout out to the 17 people in here, man. If y'all don't have any questions, I've been on here for an hour and 43 minutes. I never thought these take so long, but they always do. It freezes when your wine window has 80. What? When my what? When my what? Wine window. All right. Well, all the windows are closed, man. I apologize for it freezing. It is what it is when you live in the country, man. You never know what the weather's going to be like or the internet. But I have 17 people that stuck strong. I can't even talk. Stay strong. I appreciate you, OGs. Y'all the real ones. I'm trying to get through these comments. You only need a what? A Nanyang tree stump? Right? You only need so many tree stumps. And I feel like, we've had a lot of those, right? A lot of those guys that, that just they got too complacent, right? They feel like, man, I made it. I'm in the NFL. There's not a deep roster, right? I'm the best guy on this roster. So, I don't have to do what everybody else does, right? I don't have to give 110%. And I think some of these cats may, have just got a little bit complacent. And with that, you end up, being on the injured reserve or on somebody else's roster, hopefully for guys like Charles Snowden and guys like Tyree Wilson, right? Some of the DTs may end up playing strong side D end, right? I agree with that too. Some of the defensive tackles and then some of the edge guys, might end up playing with their hand in the dirt as that DT, right? Because some of them, like a Max Crosby, he can win inside in the middle, right? I believe a guy like Twitty Payne can win inside in the middle. And I feel that guys like Tonka Hemingway, right, can win in the middle consistently. So yeah, some of these guys might be playing, little different. Stop by to say F Rebel. Stop by to yo Raiders. Can't yell so late, but appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. Yeah, there's a lot of people that stop by to say F Rebel, but we used to it by now. Weber Bueno Raiders. What's good, man? My guy Furpo always coming into yo Raiders. Get back to work, my guy. Get back to work. You work till 7 p.m. Till you work from 7 p.m. till 3 a.m. Holy Jesus, damn, bro. Grinding. See, that's what happens when you're that big time manager, right? That's why you make the big bucks. Weed them out. That's what I'm talking about. Weed them out. And we talked about some of those guys, right? Like Malcolm Kuntz, that the last 2 years he just been soaking up some money. I mean, I wish somebody would pay me $12 million to not do shit. And I'm not saying that he didn't do nothing. I mean, because it is the NFL and you're grinding out there, but production wise, numbers, right? For $12 million, you got to give me something. Give me something. A sack, a couple quarterback hits a game, right? A tip ball. I mean, a fumble. Give me something. Just please give me something for that price. And, I'd be happy. So, yes, I think they're weeding them out. I would like to know more information about Justin Shorter, right? What is the deal there? Do they just not want to release him because they just paid him a bunch of money? Did he get hurt, right? Is that the problem? Or have they just brought in, they wanted to bring in another receiver, the guy they brought in from Indiana, right? Brady Williams, I do believe. Is that the case? What is it? But I do feel like nobody is safe on this roster. And if you think your job is safe, I'm going to tell you this. You might want to be like Fernando Mendoza and start working in the hotel room. I'm just saying, outside the hotel room, taking other snaps or whatever. Break is over. Raiders just win Furpo. You out of weed, Weber? What does the 53-man roster? When does it come out? It won't be for a while, right? I don't. Hold on, let me see. All right, so for the offseason, the Raiders must reduce their roster to a mandatory 53 players by 4 p.m. That is 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesday, August 26th. Oh, that was 2025. Damn it. But somewhere around that date. Let's see. Nikes. Let me double check, but I'm sure it's pretty close to that. If I could type right. All right, man. So it's being dumb. It's not telling me. Initially, moves such as release Charles Snowden may occur early, but the 53 final roster deadline. August, same time, August 25th. So they have until August 25th to come up with the 53-man roster. And then I do believe they have a couple days to come up with their practice squad after that. So look for a lot of guys to be moving, man. The new roster, because yes, I should have just read my guy's comment. Well, if I would have just scrolled up a little bit more, I wouldn't have had to do that. Appreciate my guy. Hi today. It's good to be high every day. I'm hearing the Oregon the Oregon rookie. I can't talk today. Is good. Yeah, Malik Benson is good. Now we heard some talks from some other channels. A guy that's in Florida that knows players in the building, and his word is Malik Benson might be a problem child, right? Might have some character issues, but I just don't feel like the Raiders didn't do their homework on Malik Benson or any of these players. Now I don't know how many talks they actually had with Malik Benson. I know it was only a Zoom meeting, so maybe they didn't get to see him as much, and maybe they should have, right? Maybe they should have, because not all things come up when you're a scout. Maybe scout didn't dig enough, and I'd hate to be that to be the problem, with Malik. So I trust what old boy says, and if he says, there's people saying he had issues, that's fine, but maybe he got to Oregon and maybe he decided, damn, I need to tighten up ship, right? Or I'm just going to keep being asked to leave and not making teams. So to be fair, I just Googled it. It's good, my guy. um, never, never what? What is that? A cloud? Never. I don't know. Never something. I'm in the 707. And then shout out to my guy too. Hi today again for the Raiders. I appreciate you, my brother, with the $2 holla. Keeping the lights on. Watching you on YouTube. Nice. Appreciate you. It's not frozen at all now. Yeah, I don't know what was going on, man, but it was choppy earlier. Raider Nation Jason, what's good, my guy? We still on for Friday? Y'all make sure to tune in Friday, 10 o'clock my time, or somewhere around there. It might get moved around or changed. He's got children, got a baby, got to put her night night. But if we're still on, pull up Friday, man. Pull up Friday. We'll get my guy Jason's thoughts on where we're heading, where the ship is heading, the direction it's heading, right? Some of these players, maybe he has more than likely, he has some different sleepers than me, some guys that will make this team. So shout out to my guy. Make sure y'all go follow him, show him some love. Faded Raider with a $2 holla. Appreciate you as well. I would be surprised if they cut Aiden. You're an Aiden O'Connell fan like me, though, so of course we're gonna be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, though. I wouldn't. It just makes all the sense when you finally get in a system where they need a pocket guy that can roll out of the pocket every once in a while and throw on the run, which Aiden has shown plenty of times he could do. But you get a system that has an offensive coordinator that's going to be here for the entire year. You have the number one center in all of football. Some say, a top 5 running back, maybe a 2 top 10 running backs when it's all said and done behind him. I mean, of course they trade him. Of course. I would not put it past them. But you only they say you save $3 million, but you take like a $3 million cap hit. So it ain't really helping either way. You might as well have him on the roster. Last year, there was 40 different starting quarterbacks. The year before, I believe it was 47. And the year before that, there was 61. 61, I do believe, different starting quarterbacks. Now, my numbers could be off, but it was extremely high. And I think it was in the 60s. So when you have 60 different quarterbacks starting in the NFL, that means every team pretty much, but some teams had like 3 or 4, like the Cleveland Browns and teams like that can't get it right or figure out who their guy is. Trade guys during the season. But that's a lot, right? That's a lot. To have 40, 50, or 60 different quarterbacks playing in the NFL in one season, that tells me 2 things. These guys need to get stronger, and you need 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. If you don't have 3 quarterbacks on your roster and a practice squad guy, you're failing in the NFL because we've seen it too many times. Last year, last year with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? They went and got Flacco. He got hurt. They put in somebody else behind him. He got hurt. They went back with Flacco. The Browns, they jumped around trading. Guys get hurt. Guys get hurt in the NFL, especially the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles. He's only played, 10 games, five. I don't know, 5 or less than 10 games, basically last year. The year before that, didn't have a full season, right? But the season he did have, he was 18 touchdowns for 16 interceptions. If he doesn't go out there and throw, if he goes out there and pulls a Jimmy G or a Geno Smith in the first 5-6 games, in the first 3 games, right? If his touchdown ratio to interception ratio, if his touchdown ratio is less than his interception ratio, then bro, you got to move on and put somebody else in. We can't have another season just trusting your quarterback is going to get it right, man, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be surprised. Jason says his guess is Labe. Yeah, I could see that. Labe. I mean, I know he's a favorite. He's one of the funnier guys in the building, but that's not going to make you a roster. And maybe, just maybe, a guy like Kubiak, falls in love with him and keeps him on the roster. But that means you would have 4 running backs and a fullback. And I just don't think that's going to work. Even if he does, even if they keep him as a 4th running back to be on a special teams, that's still taking up 5 spots out of a 53-man roster in your running back room, and that's crazy. You say Meredith. I think Meredith has to make this roster. Unless one of these young guys really, really, just make him look bad. I don't know how you take a guy that 2 years ago had an 80% grade rushing and passing, who played, left guard, right guard, left guard, right guard, was on the practice squad, was released, was a UDF, was released. All this as a UDFA. Meredith is smart, bro. He's tough. He's physical. He was playing out of place last year at the center position. And if they let him battle for the right spot or the left spot, I just think he's too valuable to let walk. But, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these young guys end up taking his job as well. Raiders Don Yonder. What's good, my guy? Been a minute since I seen you. Hope all is well with you. Said hi, no good morning. What? Good morning. What's good with you? Is it morning yet? Where are you at? I hope Lucky Tassie project is successful. I think it will be, man. I think it will be. I don't know how it couldn't be, really. The man is 347 pounds. He's just going to bulldoze bodies, and I think he should have been a nose tackle all the way. And that's why Adam Butler is one of my guys to keep an eye on the bubble, right? Because if you can get Lucky Tassie to play that nose spot, and then you got guys like, Jonah Laulu and Tonka Hemingway and JJ Pegues just rotating in and out, and Thomas Booker, you really don't need to pay a guy $6 million in Adam Butler. So we'll see how that works out. Are you just talking about new guys or everyone? I'll talk about everybody. I would say Aiden is probably going to be fighting for a spot. No, he's going to be fighting his ass off. N'Kobe Dean? Oh, yeah, he makes it for sure. Chucker could be a Debo Samuels type if used right. I don't know, man. There's the only thing that impresses me about Trey Tucker is his strength for his size, the way he blocks, his mentality, But when it comes to running routes and catching a football are even running reverses, right? How many reverses have you seen him run just right into players? So his vision, I think, is a problem. And I feel like Kubiak's going to be able to point that out, right? As a good offensive line coach, he's going to be like, wait a minute. This dude has been in the NFL. This is his fourth year, and he's still catching the ball, bringing it to his body. He's still diving to catch the ball when it's over his head because he doesn't think he can get to it. And yes, I mean, no, I just don't see Debo. Debo's like what, 210 or something, 215. Like he's thick, he's solid, so he can take that beating and run over guys. And he's way more crafty. I just don't see the twitch for Trey Tucker, and that's why he's on one of my tops. Neglected wide receiver core. Okay, okay, talk about it. Talk about it. Greg Lira. I graduate in a week, and I'm gonna hit up a what mining manager. Nice. Shout out to you, my brother. Let me know when you graduate. Congratulations. That's fire. That's fire. My hat looks crooked as hell. What's going on? Is there an opening position doing underground tunnel mining for gold deposits out in Arizona? Sweet. Yeah, that'd be a sick ass job, bro. That's hard work. It's life threatening work. You're working in a cave that could collapse anytime on your head. I mean, that's you know, you can't be claustrophobic. Chewy, what's good, my guy? You can't be claustrophobic, right? So good luck to that. I couldn't do it. I'm claustrophobic, bro. You try to hold me down. That's why I couldn't wrestle. But, people had me where I couldn't move and bad things happen that you can't do in wrestling. So yeah, I'm not good at I'm not good at tight places, bro. I like being able to breathe and move around. If I can't move, I'm just it's bad. It's bad. So shout out to you, man. I hope that works. You make damn good money mining. If you find some gold, send me some nuggets, bro. Send me some nuggets. Children, children. What's good, my guy? What are you doing Friday? You want to pull up as well? 10 o'clock. We'll make it a trio. Shit, we might just make it an open night and let everybody in. I don't know. Me too, baby. Just went to sleep. Nice, nice, nice. Smoke time. Smoke time. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Hi today, man. It's been 2 hours. I have to do something. Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime, bro. Like I said, I'll make sure you go show some love to my guy Jason's channel. Angel Eyes, Melissa in the building. What's going on? What's going on? How is your day doing? Or your night? Or your morning? Or wherever you're at? I wouldn't be surprised if they trade him in the last year of his contract. I wouldn't be surprised either, tell you the truth. My guy Sullivan says, Faded, good evening, brother. Melissa, good evening. Shout out to my guy, keeping the chat going. Um, and how's everybody night going? How's everybody's night going? How is your morning? What is your plans for tomorrow? Let me know all that good shit. I'm good, Rebel. Just worked out, feeling good. How about you? I feel like I need to go work out. I think I'm starting to get man boobs. My stomach is way bigger than it's ever been in my life. I don't know if that just happens at age, but um, yeah, I wish I was feeling better. I'm just kidding. I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling all right, but I do need a couple workouts for sure. I need a workout partner. That's what I need. Sucks working out alone. You might as well minute just relaxing before bed because I have to work in the morning. Nice. You got to work in the morning. Don't you have school first and then work? He's serving the people. He's serving it up, serving it up. Grinding. Nice. Y'all both work in a restaurant. Y'all should have something in common. Also do side work on the weekends with my uncle. Damn, faded. When you have time to get faded? You at work, you at college. How could your name be Faded Raider? It seems like you gotta be sober a lot to do all the tasks that you have. Just saying. Just saying. Hell yeah, I work in Chili's, majoring in engineering. Damn. We need to get together. I need an engineer friend. Right? Get that money. Get that money. What a guy. What a guy. See, I like having good people in my chat, man. Good people in the chat. Helping the mom, going to college, grinding on the work, keeping my lights on at the same time. You do too much, Faded. You do too much. Too much, man. Too much. Much respect to that. We need more good people like that in the world for sure. Rebel, I need to have a workout partner, motivating a lot of great calisthenics channel. Nice. Nice. I will definitely check that out. I need some kind of motivation. You think these man boobs will be motivation enough getting ready to be summertime? I ain't gonna be able to take my shirt off. um what else we got? Almost through this. Smoke with my uncle in between classes. Nice. I have to go to bed, Rebel, so I hope you have a good night. Keep those lights on in here. Have a good night, everyone. Yes. Keep the lights on. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. So, hell of a show, hell of a talk. I thought we had some good information, right? We talked about the news, but I will say this, man. In a long time, um, in a long time. It's been such a long time since the Las Vegas Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders have had so many people on the same page with a plan. They know what they want. They know what they want in their players. They know what they're trying to do in the building. They know what they're trying to get out of the players. And it's been a long time since we've, been heading in that direction. So I hear a lot of talk about people saying, PTSD, the Raiders have sucked for so long. And I'm tired of the negative energy in Raider Nation, right? I know everybody's been a fan for, 51 years, right? Everybody's bled silver and black. We've all watched them lose. We've all spent our hard-earned money. We've all done it, right? That's a part of being Raider Nation. But what we haven't done in a long time is get behind our damn football team. Get behind our team. Stop saying, "Oh well, they just this draft sucks and that draft sucks." Negativity, bro. Negativity. If you constantly tell yourself, you're not good in life or nobody likes you or right, you don't have friends, that's what happens when you manifest stuff and you put it out in the world. Your subconscious mind creates those things for you. So just one time, can we have a year? And I'm not saying everybody has to be on the train like we're going to the Super Bowl or we're going to win 15 damn games, right? But I'm tired of hearing this. I'll be surprised if we win 2 games, another shitty draft, another shitty draft class. Come on, man. The negativity has got to stop in the nation. Our team cannot win without support. And I don't mean by going to the game or buying jerseys and then saying, we're only going to win 2 games this year. I mean by getting behind your team, having faith in this team. If you believe in Kubiak, damn, believe in Kubiak, right? Believe that he's going to do what he did in Seattle. He's going to put players in the right position to succeed, right? He's going to put players in a position to win. He's one step ahead. We've seen on every team he's been with. So if you believe in Spytek and if you believe in Kubiak, then get behind it. You don't have to be on the train of like, oh, we're the greatest team in the NFL. And, but things are different, right? I'm tired of hearing about, oh, well, what about that draft in, 2018? And what about the draft with Jamarcus? What about that shit, bro? If you live in the past, there is no future, right? Get out of the past. That shit is done. It's gone. It's behind us. Let's move forward with where we are today, the players that are in the building, the coaching staff that's in the building, Tom Brady in the building, Mark Davis finally being out of the building. And let's add some positivity to the nation. And I'm not saying you have to believe that we're going to win 10 games, but damn it, I would be surprised if we won't. So with that, peace out, much love. And I'm telling you, this team is going to shock a lot of people. Don't be one of those ones saying, oh, we're going to win 3 games and then be like, I told you we're the greatest team in the NFL. Don't be that guy. Peace, much love. I love all y'all. Protect yourself, your mind, and your family. And always back your Raiders.